And just begin to walk through the room, please. And let's put a little bit of an intention to it. As you walk through the room, could you make sure that you visit as many different parts of the room as possible without stopping walking? Visit as many parts of the room as possible without stopping your walking. And just get a little faster. Go a little faster. Some of you are going on top of the tables. Excellent. That's good. Keep going. Just don't break them. Yeah, and go a little faster. And as you go faster, please stay alert to who's around you and what you're about to travel over. And go a little faster. No. Someone just asked me, are you trying to stop us from going to sleep? No. Although it seems to be working. We'll go a little faster. And you might have already now hit a speed where you're into a little jog. Yeah, you're not sure whether you should be walking or jogging. Well, if you want to jog, you can jog. Now, definitely go into a jog and run a little faster. Good, and a little faster. So you're still knowing what you're walking over, running over, you still know where you're going in the room, and you're still having a bit of a slide, some of you, on the slippery parts. Great, now please continue at this pace, and could you start to converge onto the parquetry floor? And run on the parquetry floor. That's it. Now let's see who's tactical. Who's tactical and just goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Yes, there are some people that really like going through the middle, some people that stay on the periphery, keep going, that's cool. Some people that actually go outside the boundaries. Oh, you rule breakers. Yay. All right. When you're ready, stop. Now, before you lie down, pay attention to your breathing. And you know, now I can say that to you and you won't interfere, because right now your system is regulating your breathing. If I said to you, if I asked you to intentionally slow down your breathing now, it'd be a struggle. I can try it. You feel it? So now there's the automatic part of you is regulating your breathing. Just let it regulate it. Just stay with it and experience what it's like for the automatic part of you to do its job. When Feldenkrais says don't breathe in the lessons, this is what he means: to let the automatic part of you do the regulation, not the conscious part of you trying to construct it. So just pay attention to that. Notice the pace, notice the rhythm, notice the locations, those parts of yourself that are actually involved in breathing as you're standing here. Now, please keep on observing your breathing as you go to your mat and set yourself up and lie down on the back. I was talking to my partner last night, Joanne, and she said she was watching all the old videotapes from the Olympics. And that reminded me when I was watching some of those Australian swimmers after their race being interviewed. Gee, that's a tough gig. You know, you just finished a race and they want you to come up there and talk to them, you know. So those heaving chests that you see when those guys are being interviewed, that's the automatic part of themselves getting the air that they need. So as you settle yourself onto the floor, please have the luxury of just observing how the process of breathing goes from where it is now to becoming more settled, more settled, more settled. And by more settled, I just simply mean that your breathing, the process of breathing, is now adapting to a new set of circumstances that have associated with them hardly any need for a lot of oxygen. So your breathing adapts. And what you're observing is the process of the breathing adapting to new circumstances. So how much through yourself can you experience your breathing? And if some of you are still in that larger state of cardiorespiratory demand, you'll feel that the breathing is far more extensively experienced from head to foot. And as the process sort of gets smaller, as the demand for oxygen decreases, notice how the breathing process starts to become more involved primarily in the torso. What are the sensations that you're paying attention to when you pay attention to your breathing? And then as you continue to pay attention, is the breathing all through the torso, or now are some parts of your torso more prominent in the act of breathing than others? So for some of you, it might be more an activity in the abdomen that you're sensing. And for others, it might be more an activity in the thorax, the chest, the rib cage. And for others of you, it might go back and forth between those two different ways of enacting breathing. Sometimes it's the belly, sometimes it's the rib cage. So if you pay careful attention to the rib cage, are there any movements happening there? And what kinds of movements are they? How does the rib cage move in relationship to the shoulders and the arms? And then how is the rib cage moving relative to the spine? And if you want to get really particular, how is the front of the rib cage, the sternum, the breastbone moving relative to the spine? And then how are the ribs at the sides? How are they moving relative to the spine, left to right? And if you think of those low ribs, those ribs near your pelvis, your abdomen, how are they moving relative to the spine and relative to the hip bones? And pay attention a little bit longer to the rib cage, but then pick an exterior reference. So how does the rib cage move relative to the floor? As you breathe in and as you breathe out, does your contact with the floor change? Now shift to a totally different experience, which is the experience of actually drawing that which is outside of you, the atmosphere, into yourself, and then sending it back out again. So what's the flow of air feel like as you draw it in on the in-breath? Track it. Track it as it just starts to enter the nostrils. You might feel the flow of air over the top lip, and then through the nostrils, and right into the back of the nasal passage, into the back of the upper throat, above the soft palate, and then down the back of the throat, swirling around maybe inside the mouth. Maybe you feel your tongue getting a little cooler. And then the air continues from the back of the throat down into the windpipe. And then notice how far down the windpipe can you feel the sensations of air flowing against your own inner surface. For some of you, you might get the sense that you can feel the air right down into the lower bronchi. And then the reverse happens. The air starts to come out. So the outflow of air, as it re-emerges into the bronchi, up through the windpipe, past the vocal folds, those parts of yourself through which you produce sounds, up into the lower throat, the mouth cavity, back of the throat, above the soft palate, through the nasal passages, the passages of the nose, and then re-emerging at the nostrils and maybe flowing over the top lip and the face. So track that for a while. And notice, when do you lose that flow? Or when does your mind begin to wander off onto something else? Can you bring your mind back, please? Very useful for ATM, having a mind. And you might notice that there is a different temperature of the air as it comes in and as it goes out. When the air is warmer, is it more easy to sense the flow, or is it more easy to sense when the air is slightly cooler? And which of those temperatures tend to enliven your attention? And which of those temperatures tend to sort of just let you mellow out a little bit, kind of relax a little bit? Bless you. That was definitely an out-breath. And that was a very rapid out-breath, yes? A very quick expulsion of air. Very forceful. Forceful and quick. So notice, how quickly do you take in air and how quickly do you expel air? So start to pay attention to the timing of the in-breath, the timing of the out-breath, their durations. Which is longer, the in or out-breath? Can you recall which was longer when you just finished running? What's the difference now? And are the two cycles the same duration? Same question, just stated differently. Now, particularly notice what happens at the end of the out-breath. Does it immediately turn into an in-breath? Or does something else happen? There you are, breathing out, breathing out, breathing out, breathing out. And then you kind of get towards the end. And is it an abrupt end? What happens there? What happens at that moment? And inquire about the end of the in-breath. As you reach the end of the in-breath, and before it starts to turn into an out-breath, what happens at that moment? And now you can compare those two endings, the ending of the out-breath, the ending of the in-breath, and how are they different? Or are they different? Are they more the same? What's cooking? And if you've been lying with your legs long, bend your legs. And if you've been lying with your legs bent, make them long. And notice, does that make any difference in terms of the duration of the in-breath, the out-breath? What happens at the end? And let's pay attention to the fourth component. Now, which of the two, the in-breath or the out-breath, do you experience taking more work? You might already have an idea. Oh yes, of course, there's more muscles involved on the in-breath. But what's your experience? Well, it depends how you're breathing. So when you're ready, please continue to pay attention to the different aspects of your breathing as you roll to one side and come up to sitting, and then come up to standing. And it's all very nice to lie down on the floor and pay attention to your breathing and whatever, but most of the time we're out and around and doing stuff. So the question can be asked, are we capable of doing the stuff that we're doing in our everyday lives and still have enough room to pay attention to breathing, to notice how it changes as we do different things? So, good place to find out. Start to walk within this perimeter of the target floor. And there's sufficient enough variations in surfaces, people, decisions about which directions you walk, whether you want to bump into somebody, avoid somebody. There's enough decisions there to keep you occupied so that you can note how the breathing changes as you make these choices. Will I walk over someone's mat? Will I trip? Will I walk on flat ground? We're making choices all the time, and with every choice, there could be a change in breathing. And you're probably, yeah, so how? And there's even choices about, will I look at a person? Where will I look? What happens when I look at their face and their eyes? Does my breathing change? Or does it change because I avert my eyes? And it's nice. You guys know each other in here. But do this in the street. Do it in the street. on a Friday afternoon at 4:30 when everybody's dashing home. See how you go. Yeah, you could even, yeah, what happens to the breathing if you decide to walk sideways, backwards? Why not? And this is where you can take this. At the moment that it becomes just a little bit, you feel the breathing is not quite how you'd like it to be, you can just leave the target space and go into the wilderness, which is the carpeted floor. Yeah, where there's more space. So what is this thing that people want holiday homes where they can escape the city and the crowdedness? What is that? Has it got something to do with just having a bit of breathing space? Isn't that what they call it? I need a bit of breathing space. Good. Now, just keep doing that and just up the pace a little. Just enough so it doesn't feel so cruisy anymore. Well, that was me. Sorry. Did something happen to your breathing? Stupid question. Yeah. Now, the thing is this. Keep doing what you're doing. You know, at any particular point in time, we are doing multiple actions. At the moment, you're locomoting through the room. You're also, you know, cognizing which direction will I go, how do I need to adapt, and you're breathing. So really, actions are what they call nested. In the same way that a bird takes a twig and weaves the twig into its nest to form the nest, actions are like that. You need to be able to breathe and navigate the world and locomote and remain upright all at the same time. So now, could you please gather into a small group and could you just, a short little exchange, say what was useful for you in that process, what was something that was useful, and if you were to teach that process yourself, what would you add or subtract? So I'll say that again. What was useful, what was interesting for you? And if you were to teach that process yourself, what would you add and what would you subtract? Okay, off you go.